So go ahead and sit up in swastikasana. I'm up in a bolster because we're gonna actually use the bolster for the first pose. So but just take the support you need. Turn the soles of the feet up toward the ceiling. Move your calf flesh up toward the ceiling. And externally rotate your thighs so you get a little bit of release coming into the groin. And I'm up higher, so I can also just feel a little bit more lift automatically coming out of the thighs up into the side ribs. And that should translate coming all the way up into the chest. Then lengthen up through your side ribs and roll your shoulder bones back, and particularly if your neck is bothering you. Make sure that your weight is more back on the sitting bones. Okay? So sometimes when the neck hurts, we kind of push forward a little bit with the tension of the head. So you want to make sure that the neck is really right in line over the spine and over the sitting bones. Okay? Then draw your shoulder blades in, away from the neck and into the center of the body and up a little bit so you feel that collarbone get lifted a little bit more. Fold your palms together at your heart and use the thumbs to lift up the sternum, and you should in doing that feel the trapezius muscles release away from the neck. And roll your shoulders back again. Lift with your forearms up as well so you really support that whole lift of the upper chest with the rib cage. And close your eyes and turn your awareness from the outer world, from whatever is going on in the external circumstance of your life, toward the inner world, the inner landscape of you, the domain of yoga. Partly that's just a conscious decision to carve out the space for your practice. But there are also concrete techniques that you can use to support that decision that you make. One of them is the breath. Well, the first one in some ways, like Mr. Iyengar says, is the body. The body is the first prop. So you just make sure that you're sitting up straight and tall. But then you can think of the breath as an additional prop. So as you inhale, make yourself taller from the tailbone all the way up through the head. Keep that height, and as you exhale, draw the prana, or the energy of the breath, outward towards your side ribs and armpits. Inhale, make yourself tall. Keep that height. Exhale, make yourself broad. Inhale, extend yourself. Exhale, expand yourself. That's the aim of practice, to extend your awareness and to expand your consciousness. And then hopefully after having worked with those inhalations, you feel more spaciousness within, a more palpable awareness of that inner landscape. And then turn your awareness to the exhalation. Follow the exhalation with your mind, like it's a pathway or a thread that you can follow to tether yourself more firmly to the inner reality. Particularly focus on the pause that comes after the exhalation, so that your mind takes on the qualities of that pause, becomes more serene, more sattvic, more still. And from that still place within, let's chant 3 Oms together. Follow that sound with your mind. Follow the reverberation of the sound with your mind. And from that space, inhale once more. Keeping your chest well lifted and broad. Bring your chin down to your chest and your hands down to your thighs with your palms up. And then raise your head and open your eyes. Stretch your legs out in front of you into Dandasana. And then bring your legs in on the opposite cross. Okay, you're gonna need, for the next thing, you're gonna need a bolster and two blankets and also 2 blocks. Okay. if you don't have a bolster, it's possible to do this flat on the floor. It just won't be quite as effective. And if you don't have a bolster, but you have blankets, remember that you can basically make a bolster out of blankets, right? You just hold the blankets like this and put 2 or 3 of them on top of each other. Okay, so that's what you do if you don't have a bolster. So I was fortunate enough yesterday to take a class with my teacher, Lori Blakeney, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that she taught. It was mostly a class about the hips. Can you see my mat there? Hello, everyone. All right, so Supta Baddha Konasana. It's also very nice, turned out to be a very nice thing to do in the morning. So here's my bolster. It's the long way on my mat. Then I'm gonna take you need 1 blanket for your head. And then Marcia, you experiment with, you might want your whole neck supported. It might feel better to not have the whole neck supported. Another thing, if someone's neck is bothering them, that you can try is to make a little roll for the neck, okay? So that it's the shape of your neck. And then if you do that, you probably need another blanket for your head, okay, like that. That actually looks like it's gonna feel pretty good. Now, what was different about this Supta Baddha Konasana than other Supta Baddha Konasanas that I've done, okay, is that Lori also had us fold a blanket for the buttocks and put it in front of the bolster. And then you'll also need your bricks or some other blankets to support your outer knees at first. Okay. This is actually not a restorative class. It actually had a lot of hard work in it, but it did begin with this form of Baddha Konasana. And I'll show you before. So when my buttocks are up, it makes the slant of the bolster a little less severe, yeah, is one thing. But what you'll feel when you put your buttocks up on the bolster, okay, and you can experiment and then not have your buttocks on the bolster. The bolster I meant the blanket. So when I put the blanket up here and my buttocks are just a little higher, it actually gives more room for my legs to release downward. Okay. But also it's something like the support underneath the buttocks. I also feel releases my groin more. Okay. And I just put a little bit of support underneath my knees like this. But when I have this configuration of Supta Baddha Konasana, from the very beginning, I feel a lot of width across my groin and my pelvic region. Okay. Some of it is just that the knees are out wide, okay, but some of it's the support of the bolster and underneath the legs. So make something like that. If you don't have all those bolsters, I mean, it still will work and be a nice pose for you to work on, but it's really pretty luscious. Yeah. Hi, Sugi and Pratima, hello. And Allison, hello. I don't think I saw you. All right. So just take the support that you need to be comfortable. Another thing I'll just say about Supta Baddha Konasana, it's a very restful and cooling pose. Okay. And so it is a good one to have in your kind of daily practice, as particularly when we're dealing with the heat in the way that we are. So as you settle into the pose, we'll just work with the breath, not exactly pranayama, but just directing the breath a little bit. And so the shape of your body right now is basically like a triangle. Okay? And the base of the triangle is the width across your legs. Okay? The top of the triangle, I guess you could say, is your head, but instead just think of the top of the triangle as being that top chest. So as you begin to inhale, imagine that the inhalation is actually starting out at your knees. And as you inhale from the knees through the pelvic region, through the abdomen, ribs all the way up into the chest, you're basically creating the shape of a triangle with your breath. And keeping your chest well lifted as you exhale, just retrace or retreat from that pattern of breathing so that the exhalation takes you from the top chest all the way back out toward your knees. And particularly in this setup, you should feel that the exhalation really helps your abdomen release and you're getting more, let's say, opening across the collarbones. Is it not right on your hips, Marcia? Because you can change it. Just inhale, make yourself from the triangle shape all the way out from the outer knees, all the way up into the collarbone. And then move from the collarbone on the exhalation, the top of the collarbone, all the way back outward toward the knees. And hopefully with each exhalation, you'll feel that abdomen draw in and you can feel your pelvic bones not exactly move apart from each other, but there's like a width that comes in between the pelvic bones. And just do that for 2 or 3 more cycles of breath. As you inhale, you're going to move from your knees all the way up to the top chest on the inhalation. Maintain that height of the chest as you exhale and let the prana of the breath move all the way out to that base of the triangle again. And really observing how the abdomen draws in and how the pelvic bones feel like they have more space between them. You should also feel a depth coming into the groin, but particularly width. And one more time as you inhale, move that prana of the breath from the outer knees all the way up to the top chest. Maintain that height and lift of the chest as you exhale your breath out to your outer knees. And observing that movement inward of the abdomen. That inward movement of the abdomen is basically Uddiyana Bandha. And that movement of the abdomen in, and ultimately when you're sitting up or standing up, is what really helps us work on some abdominal work, but also some arm balances, which is what we're going to do a little bit of today. All right, then place your hands on your outside of your knees. Pull your knees together. And then just roll off of your bolster and sit up. All right, now you're going to need 2 blankets. And you're going to fold them just the regular book fold way. But you're going to sit on them diagonally. So here's the edge of one blanket. And then you're going to get another blanket and put it on top. So you've got 2 diagonal book fold blankets. And you'll also need a strap. So sometimes when we sit on the diagonal blanket, we have our perineum right on the diagonal, but I actually want it to be a little different to start off with. You're going to sit as far back on your blankets as you can to start off with. I mean, I don't want you to fall off the back edge of the blankets, but sit pretty far back so the majority of the blanket is kind of in front of you. And what also should be the case is that some of your thigh is supported by the blanket. And you should feel when you're in this Upavishta Konasana, put a brick behind you too. Yes. Oh, you might need 2 bricks behind you. You should feel some of that same width across the pelvic region that you felt in Upavishta in Supta Baddha Konasana. Just from having this support from underneath, like you did in Supta Baddha Konasana, but also just the width of this pose in terms of your legs, right, gives you a feeling of width, hopefully across the pelvic region. Right, now spread your toes well. And then from the little toe side of the foot, draw all the way up into the outer hips. Keep your outer hips firm, stretch your arms out in front of you, interlace your fingers and turn your palms toward me. Actually, this should feel good on the neck, but if it doesn't, you can just do Urdhva Hastasana. All right, then suck your elbows in and reach up through your wrists. Now, as you reach up and really extend through your legs, you should feel some of that Uddiyana Bandha action. Okay? The legs work, the arms work, but the abdomen also has to be engaged. Okay? So draw that abdomen in and up through the actions of the arms and the legs. Right, maintain that length of the sides of the torso and the work of the legs as you bring your hands back down. Switch the grip of your fingers. Turn your palms toward me. Stretch from your elbows through your wrist bones. Keep your leg action strong. And reach your arms all the way up. Press down into the heels. Draw up from the little peaky side of the foot into the outer hips and reach up from your elbows to the wrist bones. Feel that abdomen draw in. Maintain that length of the sides of the torso and come down. So I've got bricks behind me now. So now what we're going to do is try and get a little bit more width across the pelvic region. So I have bricks. I'm going to push down with my heels, push down with my hands, but as I lift myself up, I also have to use my abdominal muscles to lift. And then I slide a little bit forward. And you should feel that you get, as a result, more width across the pelvic bones. I do that a couple more times. Press your heels down, press your hands down. You have to do those actions, but to really lift up, you have to also draw the abdomen in and up and shift forward. And you should feel more of that width. Then one more time, press your hands down, press your heels down. Your legs and arms do work, but as you lift up, draw the abdomen in and up and push yourself forward. So you come more forward on the blankets, not all the way to where the perineum is, but just a little more forward so you get a little more width. All right, now take your strap. And actually we'll do something for Marsha's neck first. Okay, you're gonna do shoulder harness stretch in Upavishta Konasana. So you're gonna put the strap on the back of your rib cage. Then flop both parts of the strap over your trapezius muscles. Cross the strap behind you. And then, oh, that feels really good. All right, and then pull down on the strap with your hands, and you should really feel the collarbones lift and the trapezius muscle relax. You know, I've never done it in this position before, but it really feels quite nice. I can really push my hands down toward the floor. And then I can feel more of a connection between the width of the pelvic bones and the width of the collarbones. And that trapezius muscle just releases away from the neck. All right, so you can do that anytime. Feels good. Then take your strap off and put the strap on your right foot. Then, well, actually, you probably don't need the brick behind you anymore because you got the blankets there. But this is Parshva Upavishta Konasana. Okay, so press down into the feet. Use the heels. Use the strap to pull the little toe side of the foot back up into the hips, and pretend you had a strap on the other side. Lengthen up from the tailbone all the way up through the head, and as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around toward your right leg. And inhale, lift up, make yourself tall. And as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. You're not trying to lean toward the leg at all. You're staying to stay straight up and tall, but the twist really comes from that pelvic region. Yeah. Keep extending through both legs, but as you turn from the left pelvic bone to the right. And then you'll feel the turn also happen in your rib cage behind you. And one more time, lift up, make yourself tall. And then as you exhale, last time around, you can keep your elbows out a little bit wider and see if that gets you a little bit deeper twist. When you come back to the center, press down into the heels, down into the sitting bone, so you lift up and make yourself tall. And then do your second side. Put the strap on your left foot. Make sure your legs are still really doing their actions. And particularly just to wake up the outer hips more, pull a little bit more through that little toe side of the foot with the strap. And pretend you still have that strap doing the same actions on the other leg. And lengthen up from the tailbone all the way up through the head. And as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Inhale, lengthen up, make yourself tall. Exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate. Then on your last rotation, move your elbows out a little bit wider, turn again, and see if that wider width of the elbows really helps you get a little bit more rotation in the back of the ribs. Good. All right, then come back to the center. Place your hands on the outside of your knees. Bring your legs together into Baddha Konasana. And in Baddha Konasana, go ahead and move to the front of your bolster. So that, sorry, front of your blanket, so that you actually are sitting as much as you can toward that edge of your blanket, so that the blanket itself is actually helping you begin to get a feeling of Mula Bandha. Okay. So, in yoga, there sometimes it's translated as a lock or a seal. Okay? And there are basically three basic bandhas. One of them is called Mula Bandha. It's the root lock or the seal. And that's where your perineum draws in. Okay? And there's a little bit of an energetic lift up. Okay? And how you can get that feeling a little bit more is really press your heels. Okay? And that'll move your outer femur bones in. But if you really keep on working through your heels and take the suggestion of that blanket, and you'll feel a seal or a lift of energy upward. Okay? That's called Mula Bandha. We've already worked some today with this idea of Uddiyana Bandha, right? When we lifted ourselves up and when we were under, that's in the region of the abdomen. And the Uddiyana Bandha, the abdomen draws in and up. Okay? So those two lower roots, you probably saw when I did that some more lift came into my chest. Now, the third one is Jalandhara Bandha, which we do more in poses like shoulder stand. Okay, so we're not doing the Jalandhara Bandha right now, but we'll work on it later. Okay. So here we are in Baddha Konasana. And place your left hand on your right ankle, right hand behind you. Now let's do Parshva Baddha Konasana. Okay, Parshva just means to the side. Baddha Konasana means bound angle pose. So press into your heels, lengthen up from the tailbone all the way through the head. On that lengthening up, feel how your abdomen draws in and up as well. And then as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Keep pushing into the heels as you turn and rotate. One more time, lift up. And this time again on that last rotation, keep your elbows a little bit wide and see if you can coax a little bit more rotation out through the back ribs. And press into your heels, come all the way back up. And then let's do the second side. So hold on to your ankle and hold on to the blanket. Really press those heels into each other so you feel the firmness in the hips and the lift from the perineum. Push down with your hands and lift all the way up into the top chest. Feel that the abdomen draws in and up as well. And then as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. As you rotate, really push those heels into each other. Like that action is the one that's driving the twist. Lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. And as you exhale, turn and rotate. Then on that last rotation, go ahead and let your elbows go a little bit wide so you can really feel that rotation coming into the back ribs. Good. Then place your hands on the outside of your knees. Move your knees together. Stretch your legs out in front of you. And then come off of your blanket, say you're in Dandasana, staff pose. I've taken a couple classes and think that, some arm balancing and some abdominal work has kind of come up. And I've also just been working with a personal trainer, and I've just kind of been noticing the importance of making sure your abdomen is engaged as you kind of lift and lower yourself around. And I unfortunately had to realize that I have not been doing as much abdominal work in these classes or in my practice as I really should be. So here is some of it. Okay. All right, the first thing we're going to do is just a beginning approach toward a Ubaya Padangusthasana. Okay, so that's the both big toe poses. But I'm going to just do it with the strap first. Okay, and so you can too. Okay, you're going to put the strap kind of right below the balls of the feet. And squeeze your legs together. And I'm just turning to the side to kind of look toward you as I'm doing it. You look straight ahead. Okay. You're going to balance on your sitting bones, spread your toes, and really pull on that little toe side of the foot with the strap. And then keeping your legs straight, come up into Ubaya Padangusthasana. So your legs are pretty high. Okay? And give yourself as much strap as you need to be able to get your legs straight. Okay. Now keep extending from your big toes through the inner heels, pull on the little toe side of the foot, and here you are. This pose is much easier with the work of the strap. Okay. All right, and then bend your knees and come down. Then you can let your knees go out wide and see if you can get your big toes. Remember, the big toe approved grip is 2 fingers and then the thumb over the 2 fingers, fingernails. All right, and then get your balance first. Roll the shoulder bones back and then see, can you straighten your legs out, holding on to both big toes. So your legs are really pretty high up. Okay? Pull on the big toes, draw the little toe side of the foot back and squeeze your legs together. Now roll your shoulder bones back. Yeah, that looks pretty good, everyone. And then come down. Then you can come down. All right, so we're gonna do Navasana and Ardha Navasana, but before we do, that's boat pose and half boat pose. But before we do that, I wanna just make a connection with Urdhva Prasarita Padasana. Okay, so lie down on your back. I just happen to have a blanket and block underneath my head. I don't really need anything. All right, and then stretch your legs up straight. Just so your legs are in a 90-degree angle. Squeeze your legs together, and from the little toe side of the foot, draw all the way down into the outer hips. All right, so that's 90 degrees. Now just move your legs down a little bit, and that would be Ubaya Padangusthasana, right? So like, let's say that's first stop on Urdhva Prasarita Padasana. Then move your legs down a little bit more. That's about where your legs need to be for Navasana. And then move your legs a little bit lower, and that's where your legs need to be for Ardha Navasana. Then go ahead and come back up, and then bend your knees and just come down and rest for a second. Press into your heels, and let your buttock flesh really move toward your heels. And in this position, again, it's really easy to feel the Uddiyana Bandha. The abdomen draws in. You won't feel the up as much when you're laying down. It's mostly that the abdomen draws in. And again, it's not for me, it's not like someone punches you in the stomach. It's not exactly like I'm gripping really hard in the stomach, but I'm just really trying to let the front of the abdomen and the muscles there draw down toward the spine. So when you bring your legs up to 90 degrees, you might find that you lose a little bit of that feeling. So you might need to exhale a little bit more. Squeeze the legs together and see if you can maintain that Uddiyana Bandha action. You can hold on to the sides of the sticky mat with your hands. All right, so this is 90 degrees. We just did Ubaya Padangusthasana, so bring your legs down to Ubaya Padangusthasana height. Keep drawing the abdomen in. Then bring your legs down to Navasana, that's boat pose, and then lower your legs down all the way to Ardha Navasana. Okay. And then just bend your knees and lay down again. Okay, so we did Ubaya Padangusthasana. That makes sense. So there's kind of a connection between Urdhva Prasarita Padasana and the Ubaya Padangusthasana, Navasana, and the like. Okay, and Ardha Navasana. And those, I mean, there are a lot of quote unquote abdominal poses, but those are the main ones in Supta Padangusthasana. Now I've got my knees bent at first, and I'm holding on underneath my knees with my hands. So now just try and balance again. Squeeze your legs together, make your feet be active. Then just see, can you stretch your legs straight with the support of your hands? Then bend your knees, come back down to Dandasana. So here you are in Dandasana. Stretch your arms out straight now. So that right at your shoulder height, and that's really the arms of Navasana. Okay. So keep extending through your arms, move back into the sitting bones, and lift your legs up to Navasana shape. Yeah, there you go. Lift up a little bit more, Karen. There you go. And then come all the way down. Good. Okay, so now we're going to go Navasana, back up to Ubaya Padangusthasana, and back to Navasana. Okay? All right, so here we go. You got Navasana. Now lift your legs up higher, get your big toes, pull yourself up a little higher, or you can use your strap. All right, here we are in Ubaya Padangusthasana. Come back to Navasana, and then back to Dandasana. Dandasana is staff pose. Wasn't that fun? It was like a little abdominal flow. Okay.
Can I watch you go from Navasana to Ubaya? Because I was just klutzy and grabbing.
Okay.
I couldn't see you well.
All right, can you see me?
Yes.
All right, so here I am in Navasana. And then I have to lift my legs up and lift my arms up, and I come into Ubaya Padangusthasana.
Yours is so graceful, thank you.
So, wait till we get to Ardha Navasana, less graceful. Okay. All right, let's try it one more time. Okay, so here you are in Dandasana. A lot of the grace comes from maintaining the work of the legs. Okay. So here I am in Dandasana. So I have to keep squeezing the legs together and lift my legs up and reach and get my big toes. So that's it. And then here I am. All right, then keep squeezing your legs together. Control your descent to Navasana and control your descent back to Dandasana. Now I'm much less graceful in the Ardha Navasana stage of things. Okay. So here's an approach to Ardha Navasana. Yeah, I'm down on my elbows, and in Ardha Navasana, I'm not on my sitting bones anymore, I'm on my sacrum. Now, you have to do your Uddiyana Bandha, draw in, but in this position of your back, there's a lot more abdominal contraction that you need in the top of the rib cage. Right, so even though you don't really need your abdomen to support yourself with your elbows like this, go ahead and get the abdomen engaged here while it's easier. Then stretch your legs out so that your feet are even with your head. And so that's the legs of Ardha Navasana. It's hard work. Keep squeezing through your legs. And then come up. Now, some people actually do find that pose easier than the other two. I am not in that plane of humanity, but some people are. Right. Okay, so you might have found that easy, but it has an arm position too. Right? So I interlace my fingers behind my head, bring my elbows in like I was doing headstand, and I keep squeezing the legs together, roll back, and then lift my legs up. And you can see when I roll back, I can't get quite as low, but I'm gonna try and extend through my legs, draw my abdomen in, and just be here in Ardha Navasana. Karen, that is a really good Ardha Navasana. Elbows a little bit closer together, Melinda. Okay. Good, Marcia, that's a nice one too. Okay, good job everyone. Straighten your legs, Carolyn. Good, Elson. All right, excellent. Wasn't that fun? Oh. So now you can put all three of them together. Okay, Ubaya Padangusthasana, Navasana, Ardha Navasana, and you can kind of go up and down. It's really fun. Okay, so let's give it a go. Okay. Let's start off in Dandasana, staff pose. Then you're gonna lift up and go into Ubaya Padangusthasana. Then keep squeezing your legs together, come back to Navasana, keep drawing your abdomen in, lower your legs, put your hands behind your head and come into Navasana. Sorry, Ardha Navasana, back to Navasana, up to Ubaya Padangusthasana, and then down to Dandasana. Good job. All right, you may say, why do we want to do all of that? Yeah, it's lots of reasons. I mean, it's partly it's just that it'll help you in a lot of poses, but also in life. You know, I just have even been noticing, like, you know, spending more time with my 83-year-old dad or 82-year-old dad, and he kind of just flops down into his chair, right? And so just even when you're sitting sometime, you might feel the difference between letting yourself flop down on your couch versus using your arms and your legs and your abdomen to control your descent down. And same thing when you get up. You can push with your hands and your legs, but you also engage your abdomen. Okay. It's a smoother action. Okay. So just in terms of yoga off the mat, it's also a good idea to work your abdominal muscles. All right, so that's partly why we're doing that. Okay. All right, so everyone lie down now. I'm gonna put a blanket down on my mat, but mostly just because it's easier to see me. But if you want a little padding for yourself, you're welcome to do that. Okay, now we're gonna do some nice hip opening work. It's going toward the pose Ekahasta Bujasana, where you put one leg over your shoulder. Okay. So if you know that pose, you can think of this as a laying down Ekahasta Bujasana. But we're gonna do, all right, so I'm lying down on the floor. My knee is bent. We're gonna do several rounds of it. My knees are bent. And I'm gonna bring my right leg up where it's partially bent. Okay. I move my pelvic bone a little bit to the right, to the left, so I can get my leg lower. Okay. I start off, I'm just leaning over to the side so you can see, I start off holding the little toe side of my foot with my hand and pull down. Okay. Then I'm gonna hold on with my hand on my shin and I'm gonna pull down and pull a little bit lower, okay? So we're gonna do that on both sides. So go ahead and lie down on your back. Feel that Uddiyana.
Does the pelvis roll?
Huh?
Does the pelvis roll or it stays flat?
Oh, that's a good question. You can experiment with both approaches, okay? I'm kind of tight, okay? So at first, I am kind of letting my pelvis roll. See, this is letting my pelvis roll. But truthfully, when my pelvis, it does feel good on my back, but it doesn't really open my hip on this side in the same way.
I get
Whereas
it.
if I keep my pelvis not rolling, then that action, all the movement has to come from my right groin.
Okay.
So I don't mind if you roll a couple of times just to do it. Yeah, but it's really working more with a kind of motion, not an action. And the more you let the left side tip, the more you're taking away the opportunity for your right side to open. Yeah. But, you know, we work both ways in Iyengar yoga. You know, sometimes we let the base go so we can get a certain ground. So you can try that too. You could tip a little bit so you can get a little bit deeper, but then keep the right knee where it is and see, can you let your left pelvis go back to its neutral position? All right. And then just bring that leg down and see if you can just feel a difference between the right side and the left side just from having done that one quasi Ekahasta Bujasana. All right, then bring your other leg up. And again, what I'm doing at first, I put my little toe side of my foot with my hand, because that helps me activate that outer facet of my hip, all right, and gives me the inner knee lift. And gives me, and as much as possible, you want to try not to let your toes turn away out, okay? You're trying to keep your feet more or less in a Tadasana shape. And I get some good action there, okay? But if you move your hand down on your shin, okay, you'll feel that you can actually, I have more strength that way. And I'm working with the shin bone to help get the hip to open a little bit more, rather than just keeping my hand way up on my little toe. Okay. And then you can, again, if you want to try rocking a little bit to the left, and see if you can get a little bit lower, that's fine. But then can you move your right pelvic bone back and keep the ground that you gained by letting the base go? All right. And then bring that leg down. Okay. Marcia, if this next one hurts your neck, you just repeat what we did, keeping your head on the floor, okay? But the next one, it's similar, except that you're gonna come up and do a little bit of a sit-up. Okay, so it's almost like Ardha Navasana. Okay, so I'm really engaging my abdomen here. Okay, then I'm gonna put my arm on my hamstring. Okay? And now I got my whole arm to push down. And if you can get all the way up to the top of your shoulder on your on your leg, great. Okay. I can't quite, okay. But now I can hold on with my little fingers and also push with my arm. And I'm going to stay up, if it doesn't hurt my neck, with that engagement of the abdomen, which I'm going to need later. Okay. And the more you use your abdomen, the less strain it will be on your neck. All right, then do the other side. Oh, wow, I could really feel that really got deeper when I had the whole strength of my arm. I can feel more release in my pelvic bone.
What's happening with your other leg? Are you keeping it straight up and down, or mine kind of falls to the side? I feel like it's being lazy.
Oh, okay, that's a good question. On this way of doing it, I'm just trying to keep my foot is on the floor, and I'm not letting my left knee move to the left. But since you asked, the next time around that we do it, and I'm trying also not to tip that much, so it's hard not to engage. Then you can also work on straightening that left leg out. Because that's like a Hastha-Budasana, right? All right, so that's what we'll do the second time around. Okay, so we have our first side, second side to do. All right, so you're gonna bend your left leg. Okay, then this might help whoever asked the question about the right leg. Really press into the heel of your right foot, so the knee doesn't go out wide; it just stays stable. Okay. Then exhale, push into the heel as you do your sit-up, so you really feel your upper abdomen engage. Then pull your leg down. Now, you have to lift up a little bit more, and I'm really trying to get as much of my arm on my hamstring as I can. Yeah. If you could get all the way up onto the back of your shoulder, do it. If you can't, just try and get where you can get. Okay. And this one, I can feel my bicep is not liking it that much. So if this one bothers the bicep, you don't have to do it. You can just go back. Okay. But you should be able to get like that whole arm pushing your leg down. Okay. And you can say a prayer of thanksgiving that we are at least lying down. Okay. All right, good. Okay, first side again. Good, Pratima, that was good. All right, first side again. And now you're gonna put the arm there, do your sit-up, all that kind of stuff. All right, now really do your sit-up, okay? And stretch your left leg out. If it goes to the floor, great. If it doesn't, okay, that's good, Allison, good leg action. Good. Can you feel how much your groin needs to open? Nice, yeah, that looks good, everyone. Nice job. Okay, good job, second side. So you're gonna bend the leg down, do your sit-up, get as much of your arm on the hamstring as you can. Keep extending through the inner foot, keep your abdomen engaged, then stretch your right leg out. And just for the heck of it, pretend with your right hand that you're pushing the wall away from you, because eventually you're gonna be pushing the floor away from you. There you go. Good. All right, good job, everyone. Roll over onto your hands and your knees and just do a little palate cleansing downward facing dog. And you may just observe what effect, you know, we didn't do a beginning downward facing dog, but you do downward facing dog all the time. So what effect does the abdominal work have on your downward facing dog? Can you feel how the abdomen also draws in downward facing dog? I also felt very with my legs. Okay. Then bend your knees and come down and get your bricks. And put your bricks on either side of your hips. All right. So press your heels down, push your hands down, and lift your buttocks up. But when you do that, also draw your abdomen in and up, okay? I'm not trying to get my heels off the ground, okay? I'm squeezing my legs together, press the heels, press the hands, draw the abdomen in and up and come up. And then lower yourself down with control. And one more time, press your heels down, press your hands down. On your exhalation, draw your abdomen in and up and move your buttocks back a little bit. Arms work, legs work, abdomen works. And come down. Okay, so try it without the bricks. Put your hands on the floor. Press your heels down, press your hands down, draw your abdomen in and up, and see if you can move your buttocks off the floor. This favors the long armed for sure, but I at least got a little bit of lift. But here's the other thing. Even if you don't get up, if you are pushing your hands down, pressing your heels down and doing your abdominal work, you're doing the work of the pose, okay? So the getting up, don't get frustrated if you don't get up, okay? As long as you're really working your legs, as long as you're working your arms, as long as you're doing that abdomen action, it's really kind of irrelevant if you get lift, okay? All right, ready? You're gonna take your right hand on the inside of your right knee. Sorry, right hand on the little toe side of your foot and pull your leg back. Just like we were doing when we were laying down, right? Then what I do at this point is I hold on to my right heel with my left hand because I have to let go with my right hand to get my leg. Can you see how it's the same as what we were doing laying down?
No, get it off.
Yeah, see, if I laid down, my arm would be on the inside of my thigh. And now you have to hold on to the leg, put your hand on the floor, and clamp your arm with your leg. Then you look forward, push down with your hands, lift the whole leg up, and you get a little bit of airborne. That's called Ekahasta Budasana. And then you come down with control. Okay.
Just listen to
All right, any questions?
My elbows are not straight, so I cannot do that pose.
Your elbows are not straight.
They have a more like a wide angle, so I cannot get enough pressure on the.
Try using your bricks.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use put your hands on bricks.
Okay.
I don't personally find them that helpful, but some people do. Okay, so if you aren't really able to push down, okay, then you just make it a little bit easier to push onto something and lift up. And any other questions? All right, ready for your second side? Okay, so we were laying down doing Ekahasta Budasana. So if this is too much for anyone's neck or shoulders or anything, you just do it lying down, okay? What we just did before. All right, so again, what I do is I start off just like we did lying down. I start off holding the little toe side of my foot and pull the leg back. So you want to get your leg as far back as you can. Then I have to get this arm, it's my left arm, here. Okay? So to do that, I want to hold on to my heel with my right hand so I can sneak myself more between my leg. Then you have to put your left hand on the floor and clamp your leg on your arm. Now this side of my leg is not really high enough, it's too much on my elbow, so I'm not really gonna get the same lift on this side. Okay. But give it a go, whatever you've got. Yeah, that's it, Carolyn. Just clamp your leg a little bit more. So like let your foot go down to the floor.
This?
Yeah, just like that. Here's another thing. Everyone come out of the pose. That was good. That's good, Karen. Okay. All right. We're not, this next thing is a little drill. So we're not trying to get up. Okay. What you're going to do instead is try and get the arm under. Then you're going to point your right foot and push the toe toward the floor. Okay. So that's the clamping. And so what I mean by clamping is this action. Okay. And so I clamp my arm with my leg. So outer knee toward inner knee, and then squeeze your arm with your leg muscles as much as you can, and maybe you'll touch your toes to the floor, okay? Again, you're not, that's it, that's the clamping, Carolyn, very good. Okay, good, all right, and then try it on your other side. Push the leg back. This is my tighter side, so I actually do work with some motion here. And then I see, can I really push with that arm into the leg, clamp, look forward, leg, arms, abdomen.
So, and
Ekahasta Bujasana. All right.
Let go of it. Let go of the foot.
All right, downward facing dog.
The arm, you see?
What's that doing?
That's
so, and
Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog.
the whole point is to try to clamp the arm here.
And just observe this downward facing dog. Now what I am observing is because of that trying to press the hands down, I've got a good connection with the floor and my hands, which enables me to get a little bit more opening into the armpit and a little bit more weight back into my heels. Oh, good. That looks good, Karen. Very nice, Allison. Good, Bob. These are nice looking downward facing dogs, everyone. Good, Amelia. That looks good. Nice, Sugi. Nice arm work there. Good. All right, then bend your knees and come down. Hard part of class is over. Yay. Okay. All right, go ahead and sit back up on a couple blankets. There was a lot more, but we'll do more of it in other classes. All right. Go ahead and sit back in Swastikasana on your blankets. I'm going to turn around and show you what we're doing with the arms, okay? We're going to do Baddha Hastasana and Gomukhasana. Amelia, if that is too much, you just do the arm work that you can do, okay? The first thing we're going to do is you're going to reach with your hand, swing back, and see if you can get your upper arm. You can see I have my lower arm, but that's because I'm tight and that you're trying to get in your upper arm. That's called Baddha Hastasana. So we're going to do that twice on each side. Then you bring the arm up at an angle more for Gomukhasana, and then we'll try and do Gomukhasana with the hands, okay? This is basically just a little bit of shoulder work to make our inversions better. Okay, we did a lot of hip and abdominal work, so this is just getting the shoulders ready. Okay. All right, so sit in Swastikasana, or if you feel so inclined, you could even sit in Gomukhasana legs if you know that. Okay, so stretch your right arm out, turn your thumb down, bend your elbow, and see if you can reach back and get your upper arm. If you can't, it's fine, just make the effort, okay? And then roll your shoulders back. This feels, I mean, I can feel this kind of stretching, Amelia, in my bicep tendon, but if it is too painful to do, then, you know, you can just work stretching your arms out, or you can work with one arm, okay? All right, and then do your second side. Baddha Hastasana. Nice open collarbones. Roll your shoulders back a little bit more. Okay, first side again, stretch your arm out, turn your thumb down, see if you can get a little higher up on your arm. Particularly if you're on your upper arm, you can roll the upper arm open with your fingers. Yeah, that worked really well for you, Carolyn. All right, stretch your arms out. And one more time, Baddha Hastasana. Feel the broadness in the collarbones. This should help the neck too, Marsha, getting the collarbones broad and the shoulders back. Okay. All right, now Gomukhasana. So turn your thumb and then bring your hand way up on your back. Press your hand against your back and roll your shoulders back. Reach your arm way, way, way up. Turn your tricep from the outside in. Sorry, it's a friend of mine calling me, but I'm not going to answer the phone, obviously. All right, and then push your hands into your back. Turn your tricep from the outside in and see if you can get your fingers together. If you can't, don't worry about it. Now keep your left arm where it is, and just sneak your hand back up to Ardha Navasana or Shirshasana. Isn't that nifty? All right, then do your second side. Stretch your arm out, turn your thumb down, bend your elbow, bring your hand as high up on your back as you can. You can even use the other hand to lift the hand up on the back. Press your hand into your back, lengthen up through the armpit and roll that shoulder bone back. Now reach up with your hand, turn your tricep, do the Gomukhasana. See if you can get your fingers together if you can. Now keep your right arm where it is and sneak your other arm up into Shirshasana. Feel the opening in the armpits. Now keep your left arm where it is. Swing your other arm back to Gomukhasana. Then back up into Shirshasana. And then Gomukhasana on the other side. And then back to Shirshasana. Seated Shirshasana. All right, then downward facing dog. Now after that shoulder work, going into downward facing dog, hopefully you'll feel more opening in the shoulders and the armpits. Good. All right, then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips and just hang out in Uttanasana here for a little while. Let your head hang, engage your quadriceps well. Exhale, draw your abdomen in toward your spine and you'll feel that you actually extend more. All right, then come all the way up. And if you do Shirshasana, make your Shirshasana setup. Marsha, you feel it's more Sarvangasana for your neck, or, I mean, you could do downward facing dog again, or Prasarita Padottanasana, if you feel like Shirshasana is too much on your neck. Oh, you know, actually, before everyone goes up, I remember I taught this yesterday and it felt really good. I was showing the variation, showing if you don't do Shirshasana, you can also do with your legs wide and put your head down on the floor. But because of all of the width of the groin work that we did, this pose feels fantastic. Okay? So you might just touch Prasarita Padottanasana to feel the nice width in the groin, and then set yourself up and go into Shirshasana. Or whatever you do when Shirshasana headstand rolls around, which can be downward facing dog, it could be Uttanasana, it could be Prasarita Padottanasana, it could be headstand prep, whatever you do when this part of class rolls around. Press your forearms down, lift your shoulders up. Yeah, there you go, Carolyn, that looks good. Keep your shoulders lifted. There you go. There you go, Cliff, good job. That looks good, Pratima. Buttocks up a little bit, Amelia. Chaya, remember to take a rest, but walk your feet in a little bit so your shoulders are a little bit more over your elbows. That looks good, Carolyn. Just a little bit more between, not Carolyn, Melinda, a little bit more extension through the inner heels. That looks pretty good, Allison. I think you could bring your buttock flesh up and your thighs back just a little bit. Move your buttock. It looks like your buttocks are coming a little bit too far forward. So just make sure you're lifting your shoulders up. Okay, turn your thighs in a little bit more and a little bit more inner knee through inner heel. Good. Nice, Sugi. All right. That's a good action too, Carol. That's good idea, Carolyn. That looks good. Nice, Vicky, that's right on the money. Maybe just a tiny bit more extension through the inner heels, but it's looking good. As you're staying here, Melinda, it looks like your elbows have kind of gotten a little bit too close together. So you want to just make sure, just kind of notice when that happens, but it still looks pretty stable. Carolyn, putting your hands on your elbows, on your ankles like that's good. It broadens the collarbones. Yeah. Okay, good, everyone. All right, now we're gonna come down. Press the forearms down, lift the shoulders up, and then everyone just come down and rest in downward facing child's pose. And then come all the way up. And since we have our bolsters, let's actually all do a bolster Satubandha. Okay. Partly, I also think that will be easier on Carolyn's neck. Not Carolyn, Marcia's neck. Okay, so I've got my long bolster the long way. Okay. I'm gonna move my camera again so I can see a little bit better. I got my bolster the long way, and I've got, is that way? Can you see my bolster? There we go. And then I'm gonna put bricks against the wall for my feet. And then I'm on the sticky mat, and I don't really want my head to be on the sticky mat. So I'm gonna put some blanket down. And then I'm also gonna get another blanket and make a little roll for my neck. Okay, so it looks kind of like that. Then you have to sit on the edge of the bolster, lay down. My knees are still bent. And I'm gonna slide off until my head and my shoulders come to the floor. I'm gonna adjust my little blanket roll underneath my neck. And then I stretch my legs out toward the wall. I happen to have measured perfectly, but if your feet don't touch the wall, it's okay. And if you have to sit up and redo the setup, that's also okay. But you should feel grounding in your shoulders. If you have the blanket roll, it's very relaxing on the neck.
Said you listened. Okay, go over. Put this in your neck.
And so that now we're on the third of those bandhas that I was talking about. Okay.
I have a question. Does it lengthen the C6, C7? Isn't that
Less
the
so
middle?
with the roll, because it's at less of a harsh of an angle. But I think, yeah, I mean, you are lengthening the back of the neck. So if you're not supposed to do that, maybe just do legs up the wall pose flat.
No, I mean, I just don't want to crush this disc. I want to lengthen it.
Yeah, it's lengthening. Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. If you don't have a bolster, you could just do legs up the wall pose. Remember also, if you don't have a bolster, Castle Hill's selling their yoga props very inexpensively. So you can take a little drive out. Well, I think you have to actually contact them beforehand, but then you go pick them up at their 360 location. Oh, I got a little sidetracked. So the movement of the chin to the chest, which does for sure lengthen the back of the neck. Okay. But it also creates a little contact, but at least movement of the chin toward the chest. That's the third of the bandhas. That's called Jalandhara bandha. And that's what the head position for Sarvangasana. It's also the head position for seated pranayama. And so when you do Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, and Jalandhara Bandha, essentially what you've done is you've sealed the energy of the breath or just the prana within the whole region of the chest, right? And the abdomen, or really the region of the torso. Right? And it kind of increases the movement of prana because it's in an enclosed space. And even if you don't in poses consciously apply the bandhas, the shape of the poses is suggestive to the work of the bandhas once you start paying attention to that.
I'm doing it right.
All right, then go ahead and bend your knees, slide off of your setup. And then everyone go into legs up the wall pose. You can either put your buttocks up on the bolster or you can just be against the wall. Either one will work. If your lower back feels in any way strained, do it flat on the floor. It's more restful for the lower back. The lifting the buttocks up does give you more of the bandha action. Okay, so it has more of an internal effect on the pose. They're both fine to do. Let your eyes release into the back of your head. Let your tongue release away from the roof of your mouth. Unclench your jaw. Let the back of the throat release. Let the sides of the throat release. Let the base of the throat release. Let your ears draw inward. Completely relax the features of your face. Become quiet within. All right, you can stay here for a few more minutes, a couple more minutes if you want, or now's the time to move toward Shavasana as well. So sometime between now and a minute from now, move from legs up the wall pose to Shavasana of your choice. Viparita Karani is another one of those poses like, and Setu Bandha, like Baddha Konasana. They have a very cooling effect on the mind and the body. Yeah. So even if you actually aren't venturing out into the heat, you kind of know it's out there. It's kind of agitating, right? And so you want to do poses in the hot time of the year that are soothing, that create inner quietude. Just observe that effect of these kinds of poses. And then everyone go ahead and come into Shavasana if you haven't already. Let your eyes release into the back of your head. Let your tongue release away from the roof of your mouth. Unclench your jaw. Let the back of the throat release. Let the sides of the throat release. Let the base of the throat release. Let your ears draw inward. Completely relax the features of your face. Become quiet within. Observe the effect that your practice has on you. Each time you do Shavasana, just make a little bit of an inquiry into our reflection back on what did we do and what is its effect. That's how we build up viveka, the capacity to make discerning judgments. That's in yoga philosophy what destroys ignorance, which is the root of all the other afflictions. So we want to build up that sense of discrimination by observing cause and effect in our practice. And take a couple deeper breaths. If you're still in legs up the wall pose, push yourself away from the wall and roll over to your right side. If you're in Shavasana, bend your knees and roll over to your right side. And then everyone use your hands and your abdomen and push yourself back up. Hold your palms together at your heart as you close your eyes. Observe the effect that your practice has on you. Observe it on every layer of your being, from the physical to the most deeply spiritual. In gratitude to the benefit you receive from your practice of yoga, in gratitude to the people I have the opportunity to learn and study and practice yoga with, and in gratitude to the lineage of Hatha Yoga itself, as practiced by BKS Iyengar, reaching back to the sages of India and down through a line of teachers and students to you, here on the mat, in Austin, Texas, or Paris, France, or wherever you happen to be in the world. Namaste. Namaste. Happy Saturday, everyone.
Thank you.